Good day, dear students. In the previous class, we were talking about the short story Labor Now for My Head, and we have seen how fate agrees with her and brings her in the land that she so desired in the form of Kalong, and his wish to sell the land, and how so much trouble he is facing in selling that land. That much we have seen, and both parties are really in agreement and also happy. Kalong, because it was sold at this easily and at the price that he had insisted on having, or that he demanded. Lindina equally happy because she now found the owner of the land next to the cemetery, and he is willing enough to sell it even without her asking for it. Okay, so in that manner you will find both parties in total agreement. So in the next pages you will find that Kalong came with the agreement, and Lindina had instructed him as how to do things in the proper manner, and he had drawn out the agreement, and later Lindina became the owner of a plot of land next to the south wall of the old cemetery. South wall of the old cemetery means that is the part where cemetery is going to be extended. There is no other way they can extend the land. And so you find that when everything is in agreement, a fence was put up, and it was completed with the help of Babu. Of course, Babu is there to help her out. So she just fenced in the plot that she had bought from Kalong, and the sons came to know of their mother's crazy plan only much, much later. The term crazy is put in inverted commas, and I told you that it is regarded as the senile plan, or the senile the wish that a lady will have in her old age. And the terms used as senile and crazy when people thought of Lindina having this plot, and the sons now came to know of it because it is the agreement is to be written and her name is to be put in there, it is to be given for registration, so people will get to know of that. And the sons came to know of their mother's crazy plan. And naturally, the first is, why should you buy another piece of land when your place is next to our father, and we have already made that bought that plot. So there is it's a premium plot. Why should you go for such an insignificant one? And moreover, she a woman had bought that plot. That is again there in the words of the sons. They remonstrated, they sulked, and even threatened to move out. So many things because their mother bought a piece of land. It's not that they don't have money, it is because she, a woman, did things on her own without telling them. It is that which really made them angry. And they remonstrated, they sulked. These are the terms that are used to express the attitude of the sons. And the sons, they are totally upset that they are not taken into confidence, but a mere driver had usurped their rightful place. Actually, she should have talked to her sons and confided in them, but now the son's place was taken by a mere driver. Of course, he is a good fellow. He had been with the family for a long, long time. They don't have anything against him. But the way their mother had taken him into confidence without telling them about buying the land, it is that which really upset them. And they felt that a mere driver had usurped their rightful place. But Lindina pacified them, and somehow or other the sons were quite at peace, means they were ready to accept the argument of her mother. So she said she pacified them, but the daughter-in-law, the elder daughter-in-law, now started taking up the cause where her husband had also stopped quarreling. And the mother had pacified her sons, but the daughter-in-law thought that she would take it up. She accused her of insulting them. She thinks that she is speaking for her husband, and so she accused the mother-in-law of insulting them, that is the sons and daughters-in-law. And then Lindina, a woman who had seen a lot in her lifetime, but who had kept a lot of secrets to herself, blurted out something that she overheard during her husband's funeral. And this she had kept to herself for a long time because it will cause a family quarrel. She doesn't want such kind of unhappiness in the family. So this time, the daughter-in-law is just accusing her, and she is carrying on. And she had heard the two daughters-in-law, the eldest and the youngest, talking about the expenses of the funeral. And the younger daughter-in-law has got money, and the elder daughter-in-law was telling her that actually the expenses should be shared. And this is one funeral, and there is also the funeral. There is the other expense. Why should these family think themselves of such a high-ranking people and go about and spending money for a funeral and so on? And the second daughter-in-law says actually there is no need, and the money should be shared among all the people, the two sons, instead of spending it on funeral and things like that. It is just the two daughters-in-law speaking about the expenses for their father-in-law's funeral and the expected funeral of Lentina when the time comes. And Lentina was hurt by that. She didn't say anything at that time. Even now also she is not ready to speak out this. But now she had something to tell her daughter-in-law. And she had heard the two daughters-in-law bickering over the money for this funeral expense, including the tombstone. Tombstone costs a lot of money. The place also costs a lot of money. And they say that there is no need for that. Not because they have any regard for the nature or the place, but because it is taking out a lot of money from the family, which means that when it is divided they will be getting less, maybe because of that. She had, the mother-in-law had heard that, and then she turned to her daughter-in-law and she told her, "I have not spent anyone else's money," Lentina retorted, "and so there is no need for you to worry about a tombstone for me." And further she stated, "I want none," means I don't want a tombstone. And the two ladies, the two daughters-in-law, they were taken aback. They didn't think that the mother-in-law had heard them bickering over the funeral expenses. And now they understood that this mother-in-law is not an ordinary mother-in-law. They had underestimated her. And even though she didn't say anything to them, she didn't talk to them over that immediately, she had kept this to herself. And the two ladies were really taken aback by the way the mother-in-law reacted. They now understood that even though she is keeping quiet and she is going about her way without hurting anyone, they had taken for granted that she won't say anything. But when the time comes, Lentina will say something, and now is the time. And she said, "No need to worry about a tombstone which is expensive. I don't want a tombstone, expensive tombstone." And the ladies were taken aback. "And I am not spending your money." So naturally there is no question. It is the money that her husband had earned, and the money part is not their concern. So why should they worry about that? And they were quite taken aback. And by deft and crafty manipulation of her knowledge of these two youngsters, she was able to put them in their own place. And they thought that they will be able to rule over the mother-in-law because she is old and her husband is no longer there. And that's why the elder daughter-in-law started. She thought that the second one will also take up and will support her. And it was put down by the mother-in-law with a cleft or a deft stroke. And that was really that which really put it into the people that there is no need for them to meddle in the life of the mother-in-law. Okay, so the sons really do have the right to say that she did not take them into her confidence. Somehow or other she was able to comfort them, pacify them, saying that it is not because of this, it is because you people have a lot of work to do. So if she calls them for this and that, for example, if she asks the elder son to go with her to the cemetery, he will immediately say, "Cemetery? Why should you go there? You take the driver and go, and I don't have time." That kind of answers will be there. Usually this is what happens in the life of an old woman with the grown-up children, grown-up sons, and who are already married and they have a family of their own. She's not troubling anyone. She's just taking her driver along with her to visit these places, plan and plot, and so they need not trouble themselves over that. And to tell them, after buying this land, she will tell them. And so the sons were happy. But now the daughter-in-law, when she started accusing her, she has something to say to that daughter-in-law also, which put her very clearly in her place. And the deft and crafty manipulation of the knowledge of the two daughters-in-law and their talk had helped Lendina to put the daughter-in-law in her place. And so that was a deft stroke. So the sons were really happy about how their mother took care of their wives. Okay, for the first time the sons really happy that their mother is not as quite as they had thought her to be, that the others can ride over her because the father is no longer there. And now when the occasion comes, understand, not always, but when the occasion comes, she knows how to put them in their rightful place. Especially she knows how to take care of their wives. After all, they are her daughters-in-law, and then they have something for their mother, almost clapping their hands. That's mother for you. So these words are to their wives: learn a lesson from your mother-in-law, my mother. The sons are very proud of their mother. And so the bickering of the daughters-in-law was put in the right manner. She didn't extend too much about, I heard you say, speaking like that, nothing like that. She just said what is really relevant to their occasion and nothing more. And that's why these daughters-in-law do not have anything to speak about that other than that. And so they need not be concerned about what she is doing. So why should they attack her in this manner? So they have no right to do that, and she told them in so many terms. Then Lendina's land acquisition became public knowledge, naturally. So here you will find that a lady acquiring a land, not bought for her by her sons or by her husband, but she herself had acquired land. It became public knowledge. Naturally, when it is public knowledge, the town committee will have to think about it, because you will find that there are further troubles from the town committee about the ownership, because according to their rule, only church or church organization should have the custody of the land land of the cemetery and the land next to the cemetery and the land that is going to be the extension of the cemetery. And the town committee will have to acknowledge that. So they came to search or to question her about her land acquisition. Lendina planned ahead for their visit, because Babu reminded her of the town committee and what she is going to, what she will have to face with the town committee. And she knows the rules and she is ready to face them. And so Lendina planned quite ahead of the town committee. She knew that at any moment there will be a visit from the town committee. So she drew up a legal document with the help of her nephew, who is an advocate. And she drew up this document. It is a special document. And that is, the document says, she would donate the land to the town committee and not to the church, and she has got certain terms for that. And if they agree to those conditions, 4 conditions, then that is, she will donate that new cemetery or her land for the new cemetery. So the legal document was drawn up with the help of her nephew. And she had stated how she will donate the land to the town committee and not to the church on her terms, and 4 conditions were put in by Lendina, and after that it is to be given over to the to be the new cemetery, because she knew that the cemetery is congested, they'll need more space. And this new space, the church need not buy it from anybody, she is donating that. So naturally there is a totally different scene from that, because they are trying to accuse her of acquiring land next to the cemetery, and now she is donating that land to the church and to the town committee. So they have no voice in saying whatever that they wanted to say. And you will find that it is indeed time for her to say that. Then she had, as I told you, there are 4 terms. One condition is that the place should have only flowering trees and not any marble or any other stone headstone. The second agreement, or the second point, is that since Lendina is the owner of the land, she must be given the first chance to choose a plot for herself in that land. That also is something that they can't argue against. And the third point is that the plot, how do we know that this is the place that you have buried your relative? The plot should be marked only by numbers, and the names of and the details of the persons buried in that plot of land should be maintained in a separate committee register, which anyone can look up. And if it is if instead of the tombstone, they can have that plot of land, but the plot should have not the headstone of marble or anything, but only a plan. And naturally you can't write anything on the plan. So how do you know that people know that this is their plot? You put a number there and nothing more. And by the number you will know that it is, that grave belongs to your relative, and you can go there and do whatever that you want, and nobody will say anything about that. And the details of that, of the person and buried and who donated, who bought the land, things like that, can be maintained in a separate committee register. The fourth condition, these terms that she had stated, they are to be widely publicized and they are to be adhered to strictly. Widely publicized is one requirement, which means then she doesn't want people to come and buy the land and then plant a tombstone there and have quarrels about it. So even before they come to this land, they should know that this is the place where they can't have a tombstone but only a tree. If you want a tombstone, you can go to the old cemetery and pick a plot from there. But in this plot, definitely no. So those who want a plot of land here to bury their relative, then they should strictly adhere to these terms. And this is why she wants these terms to be widely publicized and adhered to very strictly. And this is one thing that she insisted on. Will you say that Lendina is senile? Will you say that she is crazy? Definitely not. This is what she had been plotting for a long time. And as expected, the visit of the committee, town committee, the visit of the committee to her house happened. Lendina, the widow, received them with all the respect, and the chairman started a speech that you know how the rules are and it is not to be overcome, and he started a speech that he had prepared, because he is a little he is in a little awe of Lendina and her maybe the way she held herself, and he just do not know how to go about it, because Lendina is a woman, and maybe he is having problems facing or speaking about these terms to a woman. If it were a man, he could have spoken very easily about this, but this is a lady, and maybe his understanding of the ladies are totally different. Maybe he thinks that they don't understand these kind of problems, the buying and selling of the land and the problems connected with it. It is far beyond the understanding of a normal woman, according to the chairman or the other menfolk. And in the same manner, he starts talking to Lendina, or it is a prepared speech, kind of a prepared speech. You have to address Lendina because she comes from a respectable family, so you will have to consider her manners. Moreover, she was recently widowed. That aspect also should be considered. She is to be treated with the tender gloves. This is how it is said. So naturally, he is going about in the way as he had expected to. But Lendina, even before he starts or finish or halfway through, and states as to why he and his colleagues are there, she interrupts and hands over the prepared document to the chairman and also the others of the committee. So here she is overtaking them, and in a way she had seen this happening and had prepared for this visit days ahead, and even the legal documents are also ready, which means that the town committee, including the chairman, they are having an easy time. They are acquiring a land without any money. The only requirement is the terms that she had stipulated, which is not a hard thing. And considering the cost of the land, this is nothing. So naturally, they wouldn't have anything to say against her agreement or the argument that Lendina has. So Lendina interrupts him and hands over the prepared document. And one of the elder persons of the committee takes up this prepared document, reads it through, and found that there is nothing wrong with that. Everything is prepared. She is giving it free, and because she bought the land, they came to remonstrate with her, saying that you can't buy land, things like that. But now she is donating it. So all the arguments ends there. All the arguments of the town committee ends here because she is donating it. And the next thing is that they will have to agree to her arguments for 4 points, and that is the 4 conditions that she had placed before them. And these conditions will not hurt anyone. It is not going to hurt anyone. One is that only flowering trees are there and not stone monuments, and the other is Lendina should choose the first, should be given the first chance to choose, and that also is okay. And plot should be known only by numbers. She had even visualized that, and had asked them to keep a register, separate register for that. That also is in agreement. They have enough clerks there to do that. And the other last one is that it should be publicized. Even now, people had come to know of the fact that Lendina owns the land, and this is going to be the talk of the town for a long time. And even before that also, it should be publicized that before they start on anything, they should put in that notice that those who are going to be buried there, the relatives should make sure that the headstone is not placed there, but only a flowering tree. And so the one of the elder persons of the committee, overtaking the chairman, immediately said, should we approve it here and then? And he said there is nothing to speak of, and he shows the chairman the documents. He also approves, and there and then the deal was approved by the town committee and also by Lendina. She gives that prepared document to the town committee, and a deed was drawn up. Naturally, all these are to be formalized in the proper manner, and it was drawn up, and formalities were completed in the presence of her sons and their wives. And so this time she included them, the family, because she is going to donate the land that she bought for a good deed. So then the family is quite proud of their mother. And Lendina asks, after all this, after finishing all these details, Lendina asks this question: can I choose my plot now? Very childlike, she asks this question: can I choose my plot now? This is significant because this transaction is morbid. You are not buying and selling this land for to be the playground of the children. And can I choose my plot now is like asking, can I pick a candy? Can I take one sweet? That kind of an attraction is there. That kind of easiness is there. that kind of childishness that Lendina exhibits. It is like asking for a candy. And this is why it is said that transaction is more it has got a morbidity. And we are speaking about the death of Lendina and the way she is going to be buried there, and the plot that she had chosen for herself. And she tried to modify it, saying that I want to plant something there. So I want to plant the tree now itself before I am buried. So can I choose my plot? And the chairman agrees as per the terms of the contract. And so Lendina was totally victorious about the deal. And dear students, here you will find that it is indeed a morbid transaction. But the eagerness with which she went about it, the way she had drawn up the deed, drawn up the agreement, all these shows that she is she is an extremely resourceful person, a lady, and she is also leaving nothing to chance. She is taking things in a very careful manner and doing it one after the other, and everything is thought of, everything is cared for, everything is done, and with the proper authority, because she doesn't want to go wrong with anything. So in a way, Lendina is as efficient as any man or anyone for that matter. After all, she had been only a wife and housewife, and also someone who took care of the household. Of course, she had money and she has got a social standing, but she was always a shadow, because she would like to be in the shadow of her husband. So in this manner, this lady proved to be more than a mere lady. And as I told you in the earlier class, when she had some intention, something that she craved for, the whole world will unite in order to help her out. And this is very much true in the case of Lendina. She got the land quite unexpectedly when the family friend's son came to visit her and expressed his dilemma over the selling of the land, and the same land that she really wanted to buy and didn't know how to go about it. That was just offered to her, and that way fate really had done her a lot. And so again, there is the town committee to be considered. She knew that because she is aware of the rules and regulations of the place that she is living in. She is not leaving anything to chance, and she had her help also from in the form of her nephew, and she had drawn up an agreement which the town committee will not be able to refuse. Okay, will not be able to refuse, because she had taken all the chances. She is not taking any chance. She is just doing whatever is necessary, and she is putting everything in print. 1, 2, 3, 4 she had drawn up the conditions. It's not much, but these conditions really hold you together, and this will in a way help you out if there is to make sure that this particular plot of land, it's a very small plot, that particular plot of land will be kept flowering throughout the time, instead of the headstones, the marble or any other granite kind of headstone. And that tombstone is really making the cemetery congested, and it is having kind of a worse look, which she just didn't care for, that she doesn't want to be buried next to her husband. Even though she was a devoted wife, she doesn't want to be buried next to her husband because of the congestion of the cemetery with a lot of stones. And it actually should have been a beautiful enough place, but in a way this was taken away from her in a way she would have been put there in the cemetery. She doesn't want there to lie there or to be buried there, and so naturally she wanted a space for herself. And so she had planned and plotted. First she chose the furthest corner of the cemetery, and then she looked around second time, and she found that there is indeed space for another idea came to her as she closed the room and started thinking about it, spent a lot of time for a clear thinking. and she got that also. She thought of her husband and how he will react if such a dilemma was placed before him, and she obeyed, or in a way she was following those advices, and she was able to do something about it. And it is at this time the friend's son comes, and naturally she was really happy about that. And it seems fate had conspired to fulfill her desire, and she goes along with that. That is the only thing that she did. And she used that chance, bought the land, and prepared the agreement. And when the town committee came, she was ready, and she asked for only one thing, and she wants to have the first chance to select her plot, first offering, and she can choose her plot and let the others choose their own. And so it was done, and she did it with a lot of happiness, as if you are just asking for a candy. That kind of happiness she had when she said, can I choose my plot? And so she has got a reason for that. I want to plant something there, because she had insisted earlier that this plot of land should have no tombstones or headstones, only plants, okay, only trees and plants, nothing more. And this is that is only flowering trees and not headstones. This is what she really insisted on, and all those people who are burying their relatives should insist on that, and their number should be kept there. Only the number will be there, and more details about that number can be had from the register, which will be kept by the church authorities or by the town committee. That is okay for her. And so these terms were agreed by the chairman, and as per the terms of the agreement, she is to be given the first chance to choose the plot. And so the chairman along with the committee agrees to let Lendina have the first chance to choose the plot. And Lendina was really victorious with all her intentions. So dear students, we are having the planning and plotting of a lady, and she is doing not to acquire more money or more power. She is just doing this in order to have a plot of land which will have lots of flowering trees, so that the cemetery will look like more like a park or a place of rest, a place which is peaceful, rather than have the morbidity that is associated with the cemeteries, with a lot of graves and tombstones and marble, granite and stones, and each one trying to outdo the other by showing, by the way they are trying to spend a lot of money on that. She doesn't want such a thing, such a hypocrisy there. And the human conceit, as Tamsuda Ao had first stated in her story, the human conceit is such that they think that they can show their power and glory in the cemetery. That's not the way it is to be done, because human beings are buried there. That's not the place where you have to spend your money on. It is to be used to where. So this is why she says that it is human conceit. So there you find a lady taking the initiative to have something different for which she will be accused by a lot of people. She will be pointed as one person crazy, senile, all these are the terms that will be used to describe her. But even then, she is determined. In her own way, she goes around and makes it less public. She doesn't want applaud from other people. She doesn't want to provoke people. She goes her way with a helper, the driver, and keeps everything to herself until the moment comes when she shares all these details with the children, with the sons and their wives. So they are also happy, because she put the daughters-in-law in their place with a deft word, with a clever stroke, which even the sons approved of. So they also knew that this is not an ordinary lady, and even though she is not constantly quarreling with them and she has very few words for them, whatever that she says really matters. So the real Lendina comes up after the death of her husband. So you remember the moment that she insisted that she follow the hearse of her husband, and she got away with because nobody dared to question her or oppose her desire because of the conditions, because she is a new widow and it is a solemn occasion of the burial of a person, funeral of a person, and naturally it is a solemn enough occasion, and so they let her accompany the hearse to the cemetery. So even in these days also, they have such inhibition of letting the women into the cemetery or follow the hearse, which was not done in Indian tradition. Maybe in some culture there is that you can follow her husband to his funeral pyre, that is there, and usually you'll have to sit at home and let the men folk take care of that. Of course it is that, but this lady is totally different, and through each one of her action, she is revealing herself to us. And Temsilao is revealing such a character, not in a hurry to reveal herself to us, but step by step she is revealing such a character to us, and you feel like really admiring Lentina. Yes, she is really admirable. And after reading reading the story, I hope you will have your own opinion about Lentina and her way of operating, how she does things in her own way, and she is also considering her family, her sons and her daughters-in-law, because she doesn't want to trouble them, and if you trouble them they will be so over, she'll have to go after them for always, and they will not be obeying her as a servant will obey her. And so she takes the easy way out without troubling them, without giving them too much hassle as to what she is doing. She takes the driver is necessary for the car, and so she is going for a drive, and she is going to visit the cemetery also because she is newly widowed, and that is also no problem. So without incurring the curiosity of the family members and of the public, she was able to accomplish a great deal without much hassle too. So it is there you find that Lindina is totally different, and that too a difference which we can really appreciate. So dear students, we'll continue with the Lindina story in the next class. Have a good day.